What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're doing a discussion video about Lightning Overdrive. We are, I don't know, less than 3 weeks away from getting this set straight up in the TCG, and I'm extremely excited. This is, in my opinion, the best of the three core sets we've seen so far. I mean, we have all of Dawn of Majesty. We got Blazing Vortex. I think this one, even without the 20 imported cards, is the best set of the three, and I don't even think it's that close. I only think there's really one gripe with this set, and we'll even see if it really comes to fruition. But yeah, I'm just so excited. So I want to do a video talking about how I actually think that this set will really impact like the overall game, at least the competitive scene. So we are going to be focusing more on the competitive scene for this video, and it honestly may not even change too much with the competitive scene. Well, okay, not the competitive scene, but tier 1, right? We have a couple decks at tier 1 always, and then everything else is just like a decent cluster in tier 2, and then like a giant cluster in tier 3. I think this set has so many cards that could take decks from tier 3 to tier 2. And so that's where I think the big jumble is going to be. I think a lot of decent decks, solid decks, become like good decks, legit decks that can like not only like go toe to toe with some of the best decks, but actually like top legitimate events. And I hope that's what we see. So going through like some of the cards we have here, we have the new Amazement archetype. Now this deck's not going to be topping anything by itself, but it pairs with any deck that plays traps whatsoever. Because this guy's like multi-faker, but you could even argue better. So you have this guy, and he generically works. He generically like subs in with any deck that plays traps. So you're looking at Trap Tricks, Sub Terrors, Altergeist. This can just be a straight up engine in. All of those decks get a nice buff. If it's a deck that just plays a decent amount of traps or consistently gets to its own traps, this deck, or this like little engine, can be a huge power boost to the deck. You've got stuff like the Rose Dragons. Now, I don't expect this. Rose Dragon's one of the more iffy ones to me, but we have no idea. I mean, if LP gets banned or we see something with the ban list, maybe Rose Dragons is a potential route for you know, Dragon Link to potentially go down to try and make things work. I don't know. I'm just theorizing things here, of course. But now it has a new starter, a new good extender for the deck, a new boss monster, a couple good things that are going to be really important if that should be the case. Next up, we have 2 new Trap Tricks cards. We have Gina Loa. I didn't pull up Ultra Calaria, but she's also a nice little you know, card for the deck as well. But not only just this, but because of the Amazement stuff as well. Trap Tricks, I think, really becomes like an interesting deck. Before, it was way too slow because you had to play like 20 traps in the deck. But now I don't think you need to play nearly that many to really have a cohesive strategy. You can play a Dogmatic engine, an Amazement engine, and the Trap Tricks engine, and like couple extenders, and then you play the traps, because you have so many things that search stuff. You've got Nadir Servant and Ecclesia that are getting you to either Fleur-de-Lis or Punishment. You've got your Trap Tricks monsters like Mermelio or Sarah, if you can get her to trigger, to get you extra disruptions in forms of trap holes. You've got the ability to just make rank 4s to get disruption. And then you have the Amazement archetype getting you Arlecchino, getting you the ability to disrupt as well. So you don't need to just force feed a ton of trap cards into your strategy anymore. You can make it happen with like engines getting you to a bunch of disruptions, which is just much more consistent, much more reliable, and much better for a competitive format. Next up, we have Live Twin Kissy Kill Frost. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't think Live Twins will take such a huge jump until Dawn of Majesty. The new spell in Dawn of Majesty, I think, really can be a game changer for them. They still feel like they lack a little bit of power even after that card, but you burn for some free damage, you get a free disruption out of them. You know, they continually rotate into more resources. They seem like one of those little mini engines that just wants to like be thrown in with something like Eldritch and go to town. I could easily see that happen. Not sure if it fully will, but it's just something I think. And this card's actually really nice too, because it's almost going to guarantee you an extra draw on another turn. So it's slow, but it is a free draw. So it's just great resource wise, and it's a decent extender for the deck. So yeah, figured I'd throw it in here. Next up, we have Ravenwing, the Plunder Patrol Pilot. This is another one kind of with the Kissy Kill Frost. Like, I think this card is really good for Plunder Patrols, obviously. I don't know if it necessarily makes Plunder Patrols great. I think the biggest problem is when we end up with formats where either an Earth-based deck or a Wind-based deck is really good in the format, Plunder Patrols just fold to those kind of decks. We saw it with Virtual World format. We saw Plunder Patrols just almost disappear as a rogue deck just because if you were running into that deck, you just like had such a slim chance of winning. So it is still a deck that does rely on those kind of matchups, but I think this card still just like even further pushes their engine to the next level. So if they do at some point get a good earth monster, a good wind monster for the extra deck, then I think this deck is like fully in business and it can probably at least have a chance at taking on any deck in the entire game. We'll see. But I still think this is a really nice push for their engine. Next up, a big one. This may be truthfully the biggest card in the entire set that we know so far. Maybe. Arguably, right? This card, while it only supports a handful of archetypes, really seems crazy. I mean, this card seems so crazy in the way that it pushes strategies. It really just like skyrockets ceilings of certain decks. There are crazy synergies. Stuff like Orchist that we thought like wouldn't be playable anymore. This guy's really good, and in a full scrap engine combined with Orchis could be the way to go. Plays through disruption a little bit better. Gives you more starters. That was definitely a problem in Orchis where you just couldn't see starters. If you didn't see a normal summon, it didn't happen, but the scrap engine can give you just 9 normal summons, then tack on Girsu on top of that, and you kind of got a great chance to do some powerful things. So Scrap Raptor, insane. It not only supports Orchis, but it supports pure scraps. Could even be something interesting. Maybe more of a rogue deck, but still. You're also looking at potentially something like Spirals. Obviously, Master Plan is gone, but there is still busted cards like Quick Fix in the strategy. You've got stuff like Dinosaurs. This guy is a dinosaur. If you can summon him off of Baby Sarasaurus, you then get to go through an entire scrap combo on top of the dinosaur stuff you were doing. So very strong. This card, I'm not even sure all the archetypes it works in, but it's scary. I'll tell you that much right now. So big fan of this card, and I think this card is kind of being like, even though it's being pretty highly valued, still might be undervalued because I think it could be even better than that. Crazy ceiling for this card. Next up, we have this guy. I mean, not the craziest thing in the world, but it is a super poly target. So takes a spellcaster and a dragon, which means you can just rip stuff like Dragoon off of boards, and you know, this just makes it that much more easy for decks to play a super poly suite in their side deck and be able to handle stuff like Dragoon. A lot of decks just can't handle Dragoon, and that just gives us a little more ease of access to handling him. So nice. Blood Rose Dragon. I already talked about Rose Dragons, but I did want to mention him just as a generic tuner, synchro monster. Just on synchro summon, he banishes everything from graveyards. Then if he was used with a plant, if he was made with a plant or a Black Rose, you'll also destroy all other cards on the field, not himself, so you keep a 3,200 body. And if your opponent ever tries to destroy a card you control, you contribute him to negate it, and then summon back a Black Rose Dragon from either your extra deck or graveyard. So it really does a ton, but it is one of those weird kind of disruptive cards where you're wiping your own graveyard as well. You're also wiping your own board if you decide to use that aspect, although it is very strong up and by itself. So interesting card, but I'm not sure how applicable it is, but still something to keep in mind. Spriggan Merrymaker. Spriggans, I think, become a legitimate rogue deck after this. They'll just be something to keep an eye on. I'm not sure how truly good they'll be, but at least having this card allows them to really do so much more. They just didn't really feel like they did anything before, but now it feels like with the 4 cards in this set that they get Brothers, they get Merrymaker, they get the spell. I can't remember the spell's name. The spell's actually really good. And they also get Golgonda, the snake guy that can be an extender for them. So they get a nice buff here. I'm not truly sure how good they'll be after this, but I do think they can play, and they'll actually be able to do some spicy things after this set. So very cool there. Reliona, for any spellcaster based deck, this card is really cool, especially, I mean, I had already seen a couple of like interesting deck profiles of people who did well at locals or like a small like online tournament with like just a spellcaster deck. They play like a spellbook engine, they play a Magistus engine, they play a Dogmatic engine, maybe an Invoked engine, and it just all actually mashes together pretty well synergy wise, and this card only seems to help that even more, so keep that in mind. Next up, Drytron, Beta Fafnir. This card's going to be huge as well. A lot of people are theorizing that Ben 10 getting banned, like obviously took Drytrons out of tier 1, and this card single-handedly could put them back. But there's another card that we'll get to in a little bit that also helps with that. Tri-Brigade Bear Bloom, the heavy hitter. This is another deck in the OCG that's been performing at a high level, and with the introduction of this card, you can now search the spells and traps in the archetype, albeit it's not the best way to do it, but you do it. And with cards like Revolt in the strategy, that's worth. Even if it's just a 1-for-1 and not even a +1 free search, we'll take it because that card is worth so much. It's so insanely strong. And so, yeah, I think this card makes pure Tri-Brigade a potential, contender in the meta. And this card is like the whole reason for it. Just makes the deck so much more consistent in using Revolt. Next up, Dark Infant Adignister. Adignisters, I guarantee you immediately are at least tier 2. Bare minimum tier 2. This deck has actually been doing pretty well in the OCG over the last couple months. It is all because of this singular card. And they have like 3 other cards that are actually like not bad either. So keep an eye on Adignisters. All the cards are really expensive. All the secret rares in the archetype are pretty expensive right now. But this guy really, really fixes a lot of the archetype. Kind of just got their own Balinks, but like you could argue even better. Just because Adignister Island is like, or Ignister Island is like an actual extender, whereas like Sanctuary is not. So really, really cool, really powerful, and Adignisters are on the map. Book it. Bengalances of the Samsaric Cycle. This card pretty much makes any plant strategy like actually legit. He is a walking compulse. He can do it every turn. You do have to eat some damage to do it. But if you're going to beat your opponent on the next turn anyway, who cares? And he also comes back if you want, right? If he's in grave, you just have to banish 2 or more link monsters from grave whose combined link rating equals 4, and then you can summon him back. But he gets banished when he leaves the field. So he does come back, but he will be banished the next time he leaves the field. But still, that's so good. Even if your opponent outs him, if they out him by sending him to grave, he will be back for vengeance. This card is insanely good, an insanely good win condition to add to a lot of the plant strategies out there. This could legitimize something like Sunvine or Sunavalon, whatever you want to call them. This could legitimize anything that's just like maybe just a generic plant link deck. Plants already have a bunch of like board spammy cards. Maybe you just generically throw them together and get something that utilizes this guy as a win condition. But this guy is legitimately a really powerful card, and I can't wait to see what people try and do with him. Line of the Light Charmer. This is really cool. This one's, I don't think it'll have like a crazy impact on the meta, but it will just be one of those cards that you'll just start seeing all over the place. Random decks that just play like Punishment, but they don't play a Dogmatic Engine. You can just make this with your deck, revive an opponent's Ecclesia Engrave, and then search for your own Punishment. That is insane, and it floats, and it's just so generic. It's a great card. It's going to be played in something. I'm just not entirely sure what exactly that's going to be, but very, very cool. Because it's like the most generic one we've seen so far. Next up, Book of Lunar Eclipse. This one's interesting. I've had like theories about this card that like unfortunately it came out like slightly after Forbidden Droplet, whereas I think this card could have been really interesting. But they're both quick play cards that are decent going second, that discard cards. And yeah, but I think Droplet for the going second purpose is definitely better. I just think Lunar Eclipse is probably overall better going first as a disruption, but that's really the main difference. The main differences between them. This one's also not a hard one's return at all. It's just Book of Moon on crack a little bit, and you have to be playing a deck that's okay discarding cards. Otherwise, it's not going to be that great, but it's interesting. I think there will be specific strategies that can play this. I just actually, even if this is a secret rare, don't see it being that expensive, funny enough, but we'll have to see. It's still a good card in a vacuum. I just think because it came out right after Droplet, Droplet just kind of outclasses it generically for what they're being used for. So tough. Next up, One Curry Way. This is another just generic card. I don't expect this again to be like anything crazy, but it helps a couple of different decks that just make link ones consistently. It's just a nice extender for those decks. I mean, we have tons of reborn spells, but a lot of them are hard ones for turns. A lot of them work in weird ways, but if you can at least get to your link 1, even if your opponent wipes your board, you can still get that link 1 back with this card, and that's pretty good. So yeah, really nice. And then we have Diviner of the Herald. This is the only import / TCG exclusive we have revealed up until this point. Konami seems to have accidentally revealed it as part of the set, but either way, this plus your Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir will combine to make Drytron probably a legit competitive strategy again, like tier 1 contender, no joke, legit. And it's insane. On normal summon, you send a fairy from your extra deck or deck to the grave, and then you add its levels to this card's levels. Whoo! So then you just make this like a single tribute for whatever you're sending, but you sent probably a what is it? The mini Herald, the Herald Synchro, Herald of the Arclights, and then he gets you a search for either a ritual monster or ritual spell. So it's a +1 that also makes its level great. And if it's tributed, like, I don't know, for a ritual summon that you just raised its level to be a 1-card tribute for it, great. Then you can special summon a level 2 fairy straight from the hand or deck. So it's literally a +2 if you use it to a ritual summon. It's insane. It's insane. Also, Ntis is a fairy. So even going second, it helps bait negates. Very, very insane card. It's going to be a secret rare. I can guarantee you that. If it's not a secret rare, I will poop my pants. But it has to be. But it's going to make not only that deck, but any ritual deck. I mean, I know I mentioned Drytron because it seems to be the best contender out there for ritual decks in general, but any ritual deck out there, this card is an amazing normal summon. I think everybody just immediately drops Manju or Senju now if they were ever considering playing them. This card just outclasses those cards like to infinity and beyond. You have to play this card. It's too good not to. So yeah. That's all the stuff from Lightning Overdrive that I think is at least interesting on a like tier 3 level, on potentially bumping tier 3 decks up to tier 2, or, you know, tier 1 decks or generic stuff, whatever. Anything that can affect those levels of the meta. And that's why I don't like Dawn of the Majesty that much, is because there's a couple cards, generic cards, like the new Hand Trap Girl, the Bewitching Iris card. That's an amazing card in my opinion. But the problem is, like, that's it. And then a lot of their support is for stuff like Triamids and you know what I mean, all these weaker strategies that, like, even with support, they still are like in a casual tier, right? So it's like they didn't take any decks that are like already just need a little bump and bump them. They just took a bunch of really bad decks and gave them a little push there. So I just don't think it's that exciting as far as shaking up a bunch of decks at once, like this strategy or this core set is. So I love Lightning Overdrive. I've said it a million times. I think to me it's easily the best core set of the 3 we have so far. We'll see what happens with what is it, Burst of Destiny. But for me right now, it's the best core set of the year. There we go. And this isn't even with the 20 the other 19 cards revealed for the OCG imports and the TCG exclusive. So we'll see what the new insect archetype has to offer. We'll see if there's any other cards of interest there. Obviously we'll get those in the next like 1 to 2 weeks probably, and can't wait for those. I'll bring you those when they come. But I just want to get this video out. I've just been itching to talk about Lightning Overdrive because it got pushed back. We've been waiting on it for so long. So I'm just really excited to talk about it because we are within a month, and I'm pumped. I'm really, really pumped on this one. So let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this set. Anything, just any generic thoughts on this set. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's better than the other ones? Do you think it's going to have that big of an impact on our metagame or not? Throw all that stuff down below, and I would love to have some conversations there. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I will catch you in the next video. See you in the next one.